Hello, Global Theater. My name is Gerry Fialka. Today's November 30, 2024. Want to thank Rob Grant and his outstanding podcast, I'm Probably Wrong About Everything. Please subscribe. We also welcome today's guest, Tamar. Tamar, tell me how to pronounce her last name. Stieber or Stieber?
Stieber, like Eleanor Stieber, the opera singer, but spelled
Tamar,
differently.
Tamar
Stieber.
Stieber. What a pleasure and an honor to be here with part two. Where in the heck you calling in from?
Santa Fe, actually south of Santa Fe, La Cienega, New Mexico. It's
How cool is
about 20, oh, it's very cool. It's about 20 minutes south of Santa Fe.
that? I always say, how cool is that? And no one ever goes, it is cool.
I think it's cool.
Yeah. Hey, it's good to be happy where you live. And we did part one, May 10th of 2023. Can you believe that? So it's
No.
well, no, was it 2023 or 2024?
2024.
2024. Boy, my notes are wrong. So we covered a lot, and I wanted to jump right into this quote I found today. And this is Orson Welles.
Oh my God.
Sometimes a movie isn't what you think. It can offer a different perspective or a solution to a crisis, so long as you can crack the code. Now, before I go into it, any just thoughts right off the bat?
No, I was coughing, so I need you to read it again. Sorry. I just
No worries.
swallowed some water badly.
No worries. Sometimes a movie isn't what you think. It can offer a different perspective or a solution to a crisis, so long as you can crack the code.
Oh God, yes.
But
Yes.
he's saying a lot there. What do you how do you summarize what you feel? Your
Oh,
feelings now?
yeah. Well, I mean, when you watch a movie, you do enter into another world, and it's like watching Dune. Remember the first Dune? You actually had to get a glossary to see the first Dune. David Lynch, right? Did the
Yeah,
first Dune?
yes.
Everybody hated it. I actually liked it. But anyway, you didn't have to crack the code because the movie theater gave you the code.
Yeah.
But it's because it's so many layers. But yeah, the first, it's like starting a new book. Um, it's a little intimidating, and then you've got to get into it a little bit. For the movies, it's harder to crack the code because you don't have words there in front of you. Although, then again, we're reading Finnegan's Wake. I have not yet cracked the code. I have the words in front of me. So,
That's great.
anyway,
'Cause, I have so much fun with you and all the wake groups because you come to all of them. And my line is that McLuhan broke the Finnegan's Wake code, and everybody rolls their eyes like, "Yeah, right. First of all, you can't break the Finnegan's Wake code." But he indeed plants hints on how to read the book. And in the book itself, it is almost a schematic of how to read the book is in the book, but that's a complex thing. Most movies, I think, we're kind of taught. I think we both grew up with feel good movies.
well, there's the establishing shots and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It does give you a code. But when they're happening, you don't know what the code is to yet. And also, we've learned how to watch movies that we don't think of it as cracking the code, but we're doing that on some level. We know how to watch movies. We may not know the term establishing shot or any of that, foreboding, but we know someplace in our brain what it's doing, and we're racking it up and keeping it in our mind to figure out the rest of the movie. I
Well,
never heard
that's
that quote from Orson Welles. He's a hero of mine.
I did not hear it until today. I didn't read it until today too. But then I went, and what you said was interesting because we both learned how to watch films from watching normal kind of Hollywood films. Then when we got into college, we saw Jean-Luc Godard using jump cuts legitimately as part of the code, or how the process of how to view this film. And then in Godard is important in that because he said this great comment I love is Hollywood films are just documentaries of actors acting.
That's a great line. And then you have people like, Luis Buñuel, who turns the code, whatever that is, completely upside down. I mean, it was in his earlier movies, there was no code, but later on, he just had, you could tell he had a hell of a good time turning everything upside down, sideways, backwards, and, having the same actress. I forgot which movie it was. Was it The Discreet Charm of the Bourgeoisie?
No, there were
Where he,
two actresses played one role. Yeah.
right, exactly. And they didn't even look alike.
Yeah.
Like in soap
It didn't,
operas, when,
yeah.
when they substitute, I have a client who watches soap operas, so I actually get to see this, and they substitute a character and they look kind of alike. But
Yeah.
in Discreet Charm of the Bourgeoisie, they don't look anything alike.
Yeah.
And he doesn't care.
Yeah.
But
And
but anyway, about it being a sort of an inroad into reality, is that was the end of the quote, with Orson
well,
Welles?
he actually says it can offer a different perspective or a solution to a crisis.
Yeah. Um, and I mean, not knowing this quote of Orson Welles, I was thinking of that concept today. I don't know if you heard in the news about this guy that what was going to be an organ donor, and they were wheeling him into the room where he was supposed to get his organ harvested, and it turned out the guy wasn't dead. And there were the company that wanted to harvest his organ was not willing to stop the operation until all these people said we're not going to do it. And that is from Monty Python's The Meaning of Life. Do you remember the scene where the guys come to they knock on the guy's door, he's having like, tea and crumpets, and they said, we're here for your liver. And they have to fight the guy to get his liver because they have to kill him first. I mean, so that's what that quote reminds me of.
It's
This,
amazing.
it is amazing. It's frightening.
Well, back to Buñuel, because you
Oh,
mentioned who really is my favorite filmmaker. In Los Olvidados, the
oh,
kid harvests an egg and he looks at the camera and he throws the egg at the camera.
that's
So
what I
he
mean.
breaks the fourth wall, pure Manipian satire. And that is like an powerful moment. Yes.
He turns the conventions on their heads, or somebody
Yeah.
else does it, and he lets it happen. I
Yeah.
love Buñuel. He's one of
Yeah.
my favorite of the
Oh,
old
yeah.
time filmmakers. Los Olvidados was just devastating.
Yeah. And the last side, Buñuel's book, is such a must read. So this is the word code because I'm so into etymology. The word code, one means a systematic com, com, compiling of laws. So it's using the word system and putting laws together as a system. That's what code means. And
Whose definition is that? I would
that's
never have thought.
Well, that's the etymological breakdown. That's the first thing they say where the word came from. Then
Who's
second,
who's
oh,
saying it? Is
they
that
don't
Oxford?
give you the in it's called etymology online. They don't give you the name of the
Oh,
person who says it. So you can go to a dictionary and it's usually the same. It's pretty consistent. Like dictionaries and etymology are pretty consistent. But whatever, I mean, the next comment I wanted to make about the word code was that's all you do now is if you get a job, you learn how to write code. And that's called computer code. And that was applied to the word code in 1946. But it wasn't until now, the 2000s, where it became everything is, did you write code for that? That is the mainstream go-to job that kids go to now. They learn how to write code. So that's the second observation I had on the word code. But the third one is something I want to get into after we talk about movies a little, is coda. The word coda, which is the end of a musical passage, is also involved in that word code. So the fact that it is code is something uh, pertaining to laws, I wanted to bring up this question. Utah Phillips says anarchy is making rules for yourself and not other people. Who's entitled to make the rules, or who's entitled to make the laws?
You're asking me, or this person was asking? You're asking
No,
me?
I'm asking you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, entitled. I don't, um,
Well,
you know,
that's a different. That's like you put the questions in the context you want. But if I said who should make the laws,
oh,
that's a little different. When I say entitled, I try not to imply, oh, entitled people should make the laws. It's kind of like who makes the laws. Well, we know who makes the laws, or we have our hunch. We're a plutocracy where the laws are made by rich people. But it's like who, it's sort of a combination of who should and who's entitled to make the laws.
ah,
That's where the question's rooted mainly. Yeah.
okay. I mean, who should make the laws? Whatever, the people should
Yeah.
make the laws, and in terms of semantics,
Yeah.
the people do make the laws. If you consider Congress the people's house, and then
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just it's the whole thing in the House of Representatives, because Senate also makes the laws, but they have to agree on it.
Yeah.
But then you have folks like the Supreme Court making the laws, and that is not the people.
That's not the.
They no, they are appointed. Well, they have to be approved, but essentially nominated and approved, um, but not by the people.
Right.
There's a proxy of the people, but many, many, many times removed.
Yeah.
So who does make them? That's who makes them. Who should make them? The people should make them.
Yeah. Good.
But we've got all these stand-ins for the people
Yeah.
that don't even know the people, and they're making the laws.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of America, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. So back to movies.
Okay.
McLuhan says that everything we invent extends some humanness. So knife and fork extends our teeth. The shutter in a camera or projector extends our eyelid. And maybe even non-tangibles, say religion or philosophy, extends consciousness. What do movies extend for you? What humanness does the movie extend?
Oh, I mean, eyes for sure.
Yeah.
Eyes, ears, and brain. I
Yeah.
mean, I mean, that's what you're using to
Yeah.
perceive them. But it's probably number one brain. You talk about movies in your head. When you
Yeah.
talk about playing the same movie in your head, it's a whole series of, synaptic stuff going
Yeah.
on. And there's the movies, when you talk about the apparatus, you have the apparatus to make the movie physically. And then you've got your synaptic apparatus in your brain, which is you're perceiving the movie. I'm not sure if that's answering your question.
That does, because I would just want to throw in McLuhan, and I'm not saying he's right or not right, or most people say movies extend the eye, memory, in a lot of what you said. the eyes, the ears, and the brains. McLuhan said it extends your foot because you travel. It's like a magic carpet ride.
Oh gosh.
How can you go these other places, in with you? That's how we do. We travel to these other lands with movies. So again, here's another McLuhan. I'm just curious your reaction. There's no such thing as a good or bad movie. It's a good or bad viewing experience.
Oh, um, that I think there are definitely bad movies, some of which I like.
Yeah,
That's a whole other story. I love B movies. So no, yes, there are bad movies. I
yeah,
absolutely think there are bad. I mean, even if bad is just somebody who doesn't know how to use the camera.
yeah.
Um, or I mean, the plot line, the characters don't make sense. There's no continuity. So I don't agree with that.
Yeah,
I think there are
because
definitely bad movies, which
it's
doesn't
like
mean we can't enjoy them.
right, and that's the funny thing because Ed Wood's like voted the worst Hollywood director of all time. But
Yes.
whenever I showed uh, Planet Nine from Outer Space, people would come and see it and have a good time. You know. So Peter Greenway said cinema is much too rich a medium to be left to storytellers. So are experimental filmmakers doing something completely different, or are they telling stories a different way?
I don't think they're doing anything completely different. I think I agreed with the latter. They're telling stories a different way. I mean, even think of um, uh, oh, this is awful. The Empire State Building movie.
Warhol's Empire
Warhol.
State for 8
Right.
hours. Yeah.
Thank you. 8 hours of just looking at the Empire State Building. Although then I've never sat down and watched the whole 8 hours, I have to confess, but your brain starts to fill in things that aren't necessarily in the film. So he's doing the same thing as every other filmmaker is doing in a different way, which means like no movement,
Yeah.
no dialogue, nothing except
Yeah.
this one scene forever. So I would have to go with the latter, doing the same thing
Yeah.
in a different way.
Because Andrew Norton, the experimental filmmaker, said if you put one frame next to another, it is narrative. Because, see, a lot of experimental films are non narrative, they're abstract. So, are they storytelling? And I think what you said is correct. Doesn't matter what you put in front of a human, they can put it into a story in their head or start applying it, as McLuhan would say, the user is the content. That,
And
the
well, that was Eisenstein anyway, who talked. He put any two clips next to
yeah,
each other, and you've created. Well, then the filmmaker creates the narrative. I mean,
yeah,
obviously, the user, the viewer, has to do some of the work. But Andy Warhol didn't put two clips next to each other.
right.
I mean, two scenes next to each other, and you can still create a narrative
Yep.
in your mind.
Yep, that's very true. So Michael Apted, I spoke with him 40 years ago, and I said, why do rock video editors feel so obliged to edit fast? Most people don't know Abel Gance invented rapid montage in 1922, but in the 80s, it flourished with MTV to the point where Marty Scorsese said, I cut my films faster because of MTV. So Michael Apted said, because we've learned to take in information faster.
Yes.
And I'm like, I asked the question with a bias. Can we literally learn to take in information faster? Or are we just brainwashed to believe we can?
I keep thinking of how, people, myself included, but mostly younger generations, have a much smaller attention span because of the internet, memes, and, TikTok or whatever. Um, okay, that was a complete aside. I had a film teacher, Bertrand Oxt, who obviously is French, He was an amazing film teacher, just opened worlds to me, all of us in his classes. But he used to love the editing of Miami Vice. He was hooked
Wow.
on Miami because it was so fast. And I think when it gets that fast, your subconscious does stuff with it that yeah, there's subliminal stuff that you're not even aware of. I mean, this happens in advertising all the time. Um, or there's that famous experiment, you're watching a movie, you're watching all the basketball players, and then somebody in a bear suit comes in right in the middle of all the basketball players and then goes off the screen. Nobody ever notices him.
Yeah.
But there's, I think subliminally you're taking it in, but you're not conscious of it. So, yeah, I think we learn how to adapt to different media and, the way the media are presented to us. Abstract art, for example, I'm talking about painting. If you'd shown a Jackson Pollock in the 1800s, probably would never have gone anywhere. But I think we've learned to take things in more quickly from movies, from television, from I wouldn't call it digital media because I'm thinking about the 40s and the 50s when people were just, even from the turn of the century, and people were just learning about the moving image. So yeah, we've learned to take it
But
in.
can humans literally multitask?
Uh, had a martial arts teacher who said you can multitask, but that means doing many things not well.
Right, but I mean, do you agree with that?
I think, yes, we can multitask. We can do
Yeah.
many things at once, but I don't think I will have to agree with my teacher. I don't think
Yeah.
we do any of the, yeah, we can,
Yeah.
but we do them all poorly or not as well as if we just did one at a time. The whole idea of mindfulness.
Yes.
Um, I mean, I even know that when I make my cappuccinos in the morning, if I'm not mindful when I'm frothing the milk, I screwed up and have to pay attention to it. Um, so I don't want to sound too woo-woo, but I think, yeah, it really helps if you're concentrating on one thing at a time. So I never understood how people could write when they're listening to music in the background. I just never got it.
Yeah.
I find it very distracting when I do write or edit. I just need to have silence. So yes, I think we can multitask, but I think we don't do anything well when we do it.
Yeah.
Or I don't anyway. I can't speak for other people. I would suspect they don't.
Yeah.
They probably think they do.
They think they do. That's it. They self brainwash. That's well, Jean-Luc Godard. Back to him. He told Michael Moore at the Cannes Film Festival that Fahrenheit 9/11 was going to help George Bush get elected. Now, it didn't help George Bush get elected per se, but it galvanized pro-Bushers. So we've had this slew of political documentaries over the last 20, 30 years, political activist documentaries. The bottom line question is, do they more activate people or more pacify people?
There's this one movie which I haven't seen. It's the one that's activating QAnon followers. I forgot what it's called, but it's a famous movie for not necessarily MAGA, but specifically QAnon that has changed people's minds and gotten
Wow.
sort of sucked in to QAnon and by virtue of QAnon into MAGA. And I'm sorry, I wish I could remember the name. It's probably
But
selectively.
anyways, I mean, we've had that because, Battle of Algiers, probably the most important political film ever made, was used by George Bush as a training film and used by the Black Panthers as a training film. So does it, they asked Gilo, the Pontecarvo, the filmmaker of Battle of Algiers, what does your film do to people? And he goes, teach them how to make a film. So,
No, I think, I mean,
can films, can films really activate people? That's really the
oh,
question.
Yes, I mean, Hitler knew that. Leni
Yeah,
Riefenstahl knew that.
yeah,
It's all films are, in a way, propaganda.
yeah.
They may not consciously start out that way, but you always, the auteur, you've got the auteur's viewpoint in there. Uh, Absolutely. They can teach you things or sway you one way or another.
Well, this is interesting because now I'll throw out a Kubrick question that I made up, and he was strong. I made up this question, and he was strong armed by the UK police to pull Clockwork Orange from UK screens only for 30 years.
Oh my
You could
God.
Yeah, this is unbelievable. Now, did he go along with it because secretly inside he knew that was great PR, or did he think that his film was causing hoodlums to beat up winos?
Wait a minute. He actually did go along with it. I
Oh, yeah.
saw I saw Clockwork Orange when it came out in London. I was living
Right,
there
but
at
but
the
but
time.
after it came out, then they had a rash of killings by hoodlums dressed up like droogies, so they said, "You gotta pull your film." Or they forced him and Warner Brothers to pull it. So you saw it initial, but then for 30 years, it was
I
not
didn't
allowed
know
on
that.
UK screen. So the question is, did he literally think his film was causing hoodlums to beat up people, or did he just use it as a PR stunt? I mean,
Well,
it's just if, you know.
yeah, I mean, he might have. He did he have a choice to do it? He could have said no.
Well, that's it. That's no one's ever answered that, Tamar. That's what I like. You're a great radical thinker. It's like he could have said no. Well, the guy who produced 8 Kubrick films sat in this very chair, James Harris, and I asked him a question, and he said Kubrick believed in 2 things: film and family. He thought they would come and beat up his family. So
Oh,
I mean, that's his opinion. I think Kubrick knew films can't cause you to do things. They're in the midst of a zeitgeist. So then people want to say, I don't think violent films are good for human beings, but I don't think they literally cause people to go kill other people. Now, or like join Magna, I think it's part of it, but the causality, I'm just trying to whittle people's opinions down to, is it that's the sole cause. So the cause is wider than that.
that's the whole issue, right? With video games, I don't have an answer. I don't. My answer is I don't know.
Yeah,
It might cause some people to do it. I mean, there's never one cause,
that's it. That's
right?
causality. Yeah,
It's a confluence of events or circumstances or whatever.
right.
That why can a million people play a video game and go home and feed the dog and take care of the cat and just live a normal life, and somebody else goes and maybe shoots up a school. um,
Yeah,
it might have been the straw that broke the camel's back. I don't know, but
yeah,
surely it wasn't the only thing.
yeah. Yeah, I'm after your hunch, and what you're saying is great because it's also the Louis Buñuel question I make up. He went to a screening of L'Age d'Or, and he had rocks in his pocket. Now, what they rioted at the screenings of his films, slit the movie screen and caused a riot. His films caused a riot, and he was there and in attendance. Did he have rocks in his pocket to help the rioters, or did he have rocks in his pockets when they said, "There's the filmmaker, get him"?
To fight back. I don't. I can't believe he. Well, I shouldn't say that. With Louis Buñuel, one can't be sure of anything. But you know what? Actually, it was Bertrand Oakes who talked about this. It was why they rioted. The particular scene in
Wow.
L'Age d'Or. It was the scene where they show a woman getting out of a car. It's a close up of her legs stepping out of
Yeah.
the car next to a monstrance, which is, it holds the wafers, the body of Christ. And
Right.
at least according to Buñuel, that was the reason for the riot. It was heresy.
How do you spell Bernard's last name?
Augst. Augst.
Thank, thank you.
Not Bernard, Bertrand. Bertrand. Bertrand Augst.
Yeah, very good.
And he
I love
he
that.
taught me about Foucault, Lacan. It was
Yeah,
all from Bertrand Augst. He was an amazing teacher.
that was super cool because that one
Berkeley.
person, you'll love this tomorrow. I asked that Buñuel question and Kubrick question a lot to film freaks, and one guy said, "Did Louis have the rocks to protect himself or help start the riot?" And the kid said, "Louis Buñuel always had rocks in his pocket."
Oh. That's not true, is it?
No, he just walked around with rocks in his pocket. No, it's not. We don't know. That's
Okay.
that's the whole thing. I want you have ESP because that's the next topic is truth. So that's like Faulkner said. Sometimes the best fiction is more true than journalism. So that being a movie freak, that you've reached some sort of feelings of truth in the movies, whether they're fiction or not. I don't know. I mean, well, how would you say that?
Oh, this is so timely. Just this week, I'm reading something about a German playwright. I can't remember his name. This is horrible. From the 40s and 50s. And in his play, and other people have said this, they're about truth. There are no versions of the truth. Truth is absolute. It exists or it doesn't. There is either truth or there is not truth. And I lean toward that. I don't believe there are versions of the truth. I think there are
Wow.
versions of the story. Okay? There are versions. This is why eyewitness testimony is never reliable. There are versions of an incident,
Yeah.
people's memories and perceptions and all that, which are very faulty, but there is only one truth. And
Okay.
that,
That's
you
good.
know,
Yeah.
and
No,
when
I like.
I'm not talking about only in an religious sense. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm
Right.
just talking about, you know, there is only one. There isn't just one fact, but there is only one truth about what has happened or what has not.
Yeah. So now I'm going to read a couple quotes on truths, and then you tell me your reactions to them. First is Shelby Foote, the historian. A fact is not a truth until you love it.
Nah. I'm
Give me a high
sorry.
five. You should hear how many people do that. They go, that's bull. Okay. This is Louis Buñuel. I'm for anyone who seeks the truth, but I part ways when they claim they found it.
I love that. I tend to believe that's true. I have to think about it some more.
Because
I
here's
mean,
what's funny. But let me suss this out because you'll get into it. Because it's
all right.
almost a little contrary to the German playwright line, but it's the word is it means so many things, but you kind of define it. It either is true or not true. But 90% of people, when I read the Buñuel quote, goes, I agree with that. And they laugh like you do. And I agree with that. And one guy finally said, that's bullshit. Because if I'm going to seek something, it's because I want to find it. So I flipped it into another question, which is if the journey is more important than the destination, why do we have to seek or name a destination if the journey is more important?
That's actually a good question, Gerry. I don't have an answer. I think for motivation.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people say, that motivation, focus. But the funny thing is the people who changed the world in Paris in the 20s, namely Hemingway or whoever, Satie, Stravinsky, and Joyce, said epiphanies and everydayness. You can just wander aimlessly, sit at a coffee, drink coffee, and have an epiphany, that you don't have to have a destination. And then one
I
guy said, I saw, and that's called psychogeography or flaneur. And one guy goes, dude, their destination was the coffee house.
know.
So I finally got a touche to my smart ass retort.
Epiphany isn't, I mean, it's an awakening. It's not necessarily a truth. It's a personal
Right.
awakening.
But
And
I'm saying,
again,
go ahead.
okay, Buñuel's, I'm wondering if when Buñuel's talking about seeking the truth, that he's talking about some transcendent truth, the
Yeah,
meaning of life, that
yeah,
sort of thing, which I don't
yeah,
believe there is one, but, um,
yeah,
you know, the ultimate answer to our existence.
yeah.
I think we're all just accidents, but that's another story.
No, that's all part of what we're talking about. This is good
Yeah.
because Eartha Kitt said truth is a theory that is constantly being disproved. Only lies, it seems, go on forever.
Well, that's
So,
very timely for now.
yeah,
Um, okay, but is lie the opposite of truth?
that's
Um,
that's well, that's Picasso. Art is a lie that tells the truth.
yeah, I don't know if that's when you're talking about speaking the truth. I don't know. Is lie the
Yeah.
opposite? You're the etymologist.
No,
I don't know.
I don't know. I will look that up when we're done, but
Okay.
it leads to this is what I love. It's grounds for further research.
Oh, there you go.
That's why I take notes during my podcast. I go back and look all this stuff up. But this is Marcel Proust question on the last page of every Vanity Fair magazine. And I'm asking you, Tamar, on what occasion do you lie?
Um, I sometimes lie to protect someone's feelings.
It's the answer I get the most, definitely.
Yeah. The times that I've lied for other reasons, stupid reasons, they always come back to bite you in the butt, and they just don't feel good.
Yeah,
But that's probably mostly when I will consciously lie.
yeah, yeah, and
I'm
then
sure there are other occasions, but that's the one that comes to mind.
yeah. Well, you'll love Tom Waits. They go, on what occasion do you lie? He goes, I didn't know I needed an occasion.
So, can I turn the question around to you? On what occasions do you lie?
Well, I've
Am I
asked
right?
the question. I asked the question for 40 years. I mean, 80% people say to protect feelings. But
I mean, is that what? Go
I mean,
ahead.
it's hard for me to answer. I don't know what I think. And like in our first part, I says, I don't know what I think until I ask other people what they think. I don't, I mean, I have my own biases and thoughts, and I kind of favor this. Actually, this woman who dresses stars, fashion director in that answered it. That's called manners. So when you lie, it's called, she's saying it's put in another term, it's manners. One person said, I don't lie. You know,
Oh, I don't believe that.
well, of course, it's human to lie, but what they were saying, which is a couple people say, I love this. They go, well, I don't want to lie. I try not to lie, but the worst is when you lie to yourself,
Oh,
you know.
huh. I think we
So
all do that anyway.
we
I'm
do
a
it anyway.
terrible liar, even if I wanted to, I'm just not good at it.
Yeah, but I think that's a very human thing. So here's another funny one that I don't know it's funny, but it's Schopenhauer. All truth passes through three stages. First, it's ridiculed. Secondly, it's violently opposed. And third, it's accepted as being self-evident. I knew that all along.
I hadn't heard that quote.
Yeah.
And Schopenhauer, that he was a great influence on Wagner, by the way.
Oh, was he? I didn't know that. But here's back
Mhm.
to a movie person, Robert Evans. There are three sides to every story. My side, your side, and the truth, and no one is lying.
Okay, lying, I might agree. I think people do. There are people who will lie about something that happens, obviously. But if you don't think you're lying, yeah, that's why eyewitnesses are, notoriously unreliable. They think they're remembering correctly. They think they're repeating it correctly. But humans are very, we have many great faults.
Yeah.
One of them. That's one of them. We are a flawed creature.
Yes. But it's how
So
we feel. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
want to go back to the person who talked about lying to protect someone's feelings is manners,
Yeah.
and which is also a code.
It's code.
Manners are a code.
It's very good. You're pulling this full circle. That's beautiful. It is a
And
code. And
it
and
is
then how
code.
much does the code dictate what's going on, and what's accepted societal, you know. That a good example is everybody wants to kind of cheat on their taxes. Not really, but they don't want to say they call it creative accounting.
Yes. Um, and the code evolves with the mores of the time. The code evolves. The code of the Puritans is very different from the code of Donald Trump.
Hello. Well, let's go into documentary filmmaking because we brought up Michael Moore, and some people have troubles with him. I have friends who realize he, raised the bar on documentary filmmaking, and one guy says he's fat. I goes, what's that have to do with it? And all the majors, Maisels, Pennebaker, they all kind of hated Michael Moore at his prime. But here's the three kings of documentary filmmaking, I think, that are in the purest form. Like your German playwright guy saying, is it or is it not the truth? So somebody like Frederick Wiseman, to me, is the purest form of documentary filmmaking. There's no artificial lighting, there's no voiceover, there's no added music, there's no nothing. He's observational cinema. That's what
Remind
he
me what his documentaries are.
Frederick Wiseman's most known for Titicut Follies, but he's made about 50 films in 50 years. And so he'll just go into a hospital and you'll be in a hospital for 6 hours. He's done every topic you can imagine, but he's the most purest. He's mainly on PBS these days, but you can see him in major art house films for the last 40 years. So, I
So,
mean, but when he
so
made,
cinema verite is what we've got
well,
a
that's
handheld camera and all that stuff. And
well, that's what I wanted to say is cinema verite is called fly in the soup. That is not direct cinema. They distinguish it. Direct cinema is fly on the wall, observational. Cinema verite is fly in the soup. So that's Jean Rouch and Zygmunt Vertov. They add their own little personality to it. It's almost like where I bet you've seen Grey Gardens.
oh
That.
gosh, yes,
Okay, so
Maisels.
the Maisels brothers are usually observational cinema, but they got a little involved in Grey Gardens because one of the daughter kind of fell in love with the filmmaker and
Oh, I didn't
really,
know that.
well, she didn't fall. She
She had a
he didn't.
crush on him.
she had a crush on him, like, and so
Okay. I didn't know that.
she brought him in a little. So I mean, there's a fine line between fly on the wall and fly in the soup. But there are some filmmakers who are more observational, and you don't know the filmmakers there. And there's others. Most docs now have the filmmaker present. Most documentary. But Wiseman said, "What is your films?" And he goes, "Reality fiction." And Alan King, who's the Wiseman of Canada, says actuality dramas. And Ricky Leacock said his films were historical fantasies. So, I mean, it's basically, I don't have a question, but it's just like, what documentaries stand out for you where they didn't have an agenda and tell you how to think, that it was enabling you to think on your own? I mean, that isn't that the yeah,
It's what it's supposed to be, but the minute you put a frame around something, Gerry,
yeah,
it's there's you know, it's not your own, it's not letting you choose what to think. As
yeah.
soon the filmmaker has chosen what to frame, how close, how far away, what not to show. Do you have, the person or whatever it is in the center of the frame or on the side? It's as soon as you put a frame around anything, there is the filmmaker or the photographer involved. There
Point
is,
of
so
view. It has a point of view. Yeah.
absolutely point of view. So yeah, the minute you put a frame around something, it's no longer absolute truth.
And then that caused Werner Herzog to write this big manifesto. And he says, well, there's ecstatic truth. That's like monks have that. And he says, does not have to agree with the facts.
Mm.
That's like more epiphany. Well, I don't even know. He calls it ecstatic truth. Two is physical truth. That's like Michael Moore. You have a belly laugh. Three is emotional truth. That's Ken Burns. You ever watch Ken
Mm.
Burns with older
I
people and they
Oh,
cry? And I'm not, this is just, I'm not trying to condone these filmmakers. I'm just saying these are examples of these three ways. And then the fourth is intellectual truths, which is like Chris Marker or Agnes Varda. And then there's variations on them. But I think the Crumb movie, have you ever seen Crumb?
oh, I love that movie. Yes.
See, I think that,
Wait,
yeah, the
the
document,
documentary, right?
yeah,
Because there
that,
was a fiction
yeah,
that there was a fiction movie about our crumb, but
yeah.
yeah, I did see the documentary. I loved it.
But he sort of, Terry Zwigoff sort of was Crumb's friend, so he gave him a chance to show me warts and all. And he didn't know he was going to get shown warts of all. And when it came out, Crumb threw his hat off the side of a mountain, says, "I'm no longer Crumb." It freaked him out because it didn't tell you, am I supposed to like this guy or am I not supposed to like him? And that to me was like putting it more in the lap of the viewer to decide, you know, rather than an agenda telling you how to think.
It's complicated when you show the subject what you've been doing with the subject, what you've been writing about. Or I mean, I found that as a journalist. Um, I did not. I would call a source back to make sure my facts were straight, but I
Yeah,
wouldn't let the sources read my story before I finished it because they'd all find something they didn't like, and not liking it would always, I didn't say that. Well, yes, you did. I wrote it down right here and all this. So, um, showing the subject what you've
can't
done, you can't do it. It's,
you can't do that. Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
here's
you
Will.
can, but
No, you can.
you every time.
I did it once, and the editor goes, "That's a journalistic no." I was like, I'm just trying to get if the words were right. And then my friend who's interviewed every major songwriter ever did it once with a famous rock person. He says, "I'll never do it again. You don't do that."
No,
Okay.
you do.
So here's William Blake. We are led to believe a lie when we see with not through the eye. So he's talking about, the eye detects the truth, which led Groucho Marx to say, who are you going to believe, me or your own eyes?
Oh, he's so funny. Um,
But this we pursue the truth, but like Buñuel say, but when you find it, then what do you do then? Do you believe it? Is what he's
well,
saying.
do you find it or do you think you found it? I mean,
Well, you think you found it. Well, that's my brand new one. I can't believe you. This is uh Nietzsche. Truths are illusions which have forgotten they are illusions.
oh, he personifies truth.
No, he
Right.
says truths are illusions which we have forgotten are illusions.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I missaid it. Truths are illusions which we have forgotten are illusions.
Okay. Huh.
So, anyways,
I have to
let's
wrap my
go.
brain around that.
Yeah, let's go into art and science. What's the difference between art and science?
I was going to say, science requires reproducing some event, but now with 3D computers, you can reproduce art. Uh, well, I'm not sure science isn't art. I wouldn't necessarily say art is science, but maybe the other way around. Science is art. Since I'm
Amazing,
neither, I'm not,
amazing. Well,
not an artist.
but in a way, you in all your professions, that these are integrated. It's almost like, isn't science more truth and art is more like fantasy in a big sort of way? But here's what I'll just read you a couple of these quotes and you respond, whatever you want. Jean Cocteau says, art is science made clear.
Jean Cocteau. He and Buñuel and Dolly were great buddies. Um, I just think he's playing with us. Sorry.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, shocking as that may be for Jean Cocteau, it's what he does.
He's a playful dude. Okay, here's McLuhan. When we push our paradigms back, we get history. When we push them forward, we get science.
Hmm. Uh, it's a little too broad a brush for me on both of those
That's
points.
good. Okay, here's Chomsky. We learn more about ourselves from literature than from science.
I think that's true.
Yeah,
I, I do think that's true. Well, first of all, unless you are a scientist, science is not is harder to grasp, or it's not as palatable for a lot of people as
yeah.
art is, and art is more relatable. Again, not for everybody, but for most people who are not scientists. That's my experience, and I love science, but um, art allows science is like very straightforward most of the time, and
Yeah.
art's kind of wavy, and you can go
Art's
or
wavy.
literature.
That's good.
Literature's wavy, it's wavy gravy.
Yeah. Okay, because this is McLuhan on Joyce. James Joyce solved numerous problems which science has not yet formulated as problems.
I think that's very poetic. I'm not sure
Yeah,
that's
that's good.
true.
Our friend, he wanted to join our McLuhan group, and he says, what should I read? And I says, just read any of it. And he goes, he wrote for New York Times. He says, that guy's a poet. And that's
Yeah.
what he's disguised as a poet. But Tony Conrad said the same thing. Artists break laws that haven't even been made yet.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I can't say yes or no, but it sure feels right.
It feels right. What do you think the motive of the cave artist was?
Ooh, I mean, communication, just straight. All right. Well, Stan, I don't want to say his full name on the air, on your air,
Yeah,
who's in the, talks about, when language came into being, and I don't know. It's
yeah,
easily researchable, I guess, or what people's theories are.
yeah.
And if the art, I don't know if the art on the cave walls was pre a verbal communication between humans or not. I don't know. They tell stories. I mean, there's tons of petroglyphs, and in New Mexico, because there the native indigenous populations go uh, pretty far back here, like anywhere, but their art is still around. It's been preserved, and they absolutely tell stories about single events, about astral events. It could be a hunt. It could be a maybe a meteor. And people have all sorts of theories about what the petroglyphs mean. But I don't really know if it's before they came before or after people were talking. They had language. Do you know?
You
I can't.
know, yeah, we don't. I don't know if there was spoken word then. There had to be gesture, and there had to be grunting. You would think there
Yeah.
was grunting and gesture. So, Tamar, what's more important, conviction or compromise?
Oh, compromise.
Wow, there's no right or wrong answers, but that one you got right.
Yeah,
I love that.
compromise.
So, in your accomplishments, how do you rate these three elements, luck, skill, and ambition? What played the biggest role, second and third?
Okay, say it again because you kind of broke up.
Yeah. In your accomplishments, how do you
Hmm.
rate these three elements, luck, skill, and ambition? What played the biggest role, second and third?
Um, the biggest role, luck, skill, or ambition? I put ambition as three because sometimes the accomplishments create the ambition.
There you
And that,
go. Good.
um, I think it's skill, then luck, then ambition.
That is so cool because I feel most people are too humble to say skill because skill's very important. Other people go, none of those three. It could be purpose or destiny or persistence, you know. So T.S. Eliot said poetry is outing your inner dialogue. What language is your inner dialogue in?
What language? I mean,
Yeah. Oh
sometimes
my
it's,
God, I forgot the most important question, and now you brought it up by saying that. You put in the context you want, so it can be literal or metaphorical.
all right. So ask the question again. Sorry, Gerry.
That's all right. What language is your inner dialogue in?
No, it's not always even in language.
That's
Um,
correct.
I
It's,
mean, like words. It's not always in
yeah,
words. It's a combination of things. I
yeah,
mean, I can have inner dialogue with or maybe I don't know if I have scent in my inner dialogue, but scent can certainly
yeah,
spur it. So yeah, I don't know if it's always in a spoken language.
yeah,
Sometimes it's movies in my that really, I do
yeah,
play movies in my head.
yeah. It's funny because this guy just told me the other day that in Peru they think there's nine senses. So I'm trying to look into that, and you really reminded me of this great filmmaker. You've got to see her film on Emma Goldman, Abigail Childs. She's a New York experimental filmmaker. I says, "What language is your inner dialogue in?" She goes, "I wish I knew."
That's a good answer.
is is perception reality?
Not always.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've ever, well, I was gonna say, if you've ever tripped, as in acid, it's your reality of the moment,
Yeah. Yeah. Lewis Carroll
your
says, I believe,
perception.
say it again.
No, I would say that your perception is your reality of the
Your
moment,
perception. Yeah.
but
Well,
is
yeah.
an external reality.
Yeah. That's Lily Tomlin saying reality's just a collective hunch.
I love Lily Tomlin.
Yeah. And Lewis Carroll says, I believe as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast. Have you believed in any impossible things lately?
No.
That's the other writer, A. Mills said, people say nothing is impossible. I do it every day. Why is it so difficult for humans to consider the possibility that life may be pointless?
I don't know. I do believe that there is no meaning to life.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you make it as you go along. You muddle through as
Yeah.
best you can, and that could be creating meaning and stuff like that. But in the universe and the whatever time is, I don't, because humans are very narcissistic. Why do humans think that if there is life out there on other planets in the universe, they're after us?
Yeah.
I don't know. Um, I
Another
mean,
great.
you could say that about religion. Just if you believe that there is a God, why would he or she care what you're doing every minute of every day
Yeah.
or every second? I don't know why humans have such a hard time believing that because it's scary.
Yeah. There you go. That's the answer. It's scary. Okay, that's a good answer. I don't get. Okay, um you reminded me of the McLuhan line. Zeus said to Narcissus, "Watch yourself." Tamar, tell me one major element of your creativeness, your kind of Tamarness that's changed, and one major element that stayed the same in the many years you've been exploring literature, music, and all your doings. Just one major thing that stayed the same and one major thing that's changed.
Yeah, that is the most difficult question you have asked. No, seriously. Um, I guess what has probably stayed the same is tenacity. Some people
That's
would call it pit bull. Someone once did actually call me a pit bull.
Where'd you
Um,
get that? Did you get that from the way your parents raised you or on your own? Tenacity.
Probably. I don't think it was necessarily taught to me. It was a survival mechanism.
Right.
So it could have been in spite of what my parents taught
Yeah.
me. So yeah, I'm sure it's that.
Okay. One
I've had
major
that
thing that's changed. That was good. You were very,
change.
that's articulate and concise. Tenacity. That stayed the
Uh,
same. One major thing that's changed.
hoping a lot of things have changed, but
Well,
I
just
one may I don't know. Uh, Jerry, I need to think about that. I
okay.
I, I
No,
don't
no,
I don't
think,
know.
well, it sort of bleeds into this. Moshe Feldenkrais works with healing and movement. He says it's literally possible to identify a weakness and incorporate it to become a strength, rather than we're normally taught to overcome a weakness. Tell me a weakness you turned into a strength.
Oh, these personal questions are killing me. Um, actually, I think I have an answer to your former question, but
Change.
let me. Okay, but no. Well, let's go with this one. So, a weakness that I turned into a strength. Um, I think fear.
You what did you turn fear into?
into overcoming it.
Wow.
And I mean it, why I can go out into the wilderness, for example, or with when I used to do I did Aikido for quite a number of years, like maybe 9, hard style Aikido,
Yeah.
and the fear of you know getting thrown onto the ground, and um because you just get slammed to the ground. um yeah, it's just overcoming it. You got to just just dive in.
You became a stronger person.
A stronger person mentally, not necessarily physically,
Basically, yeah.
but I guess a little bit physically, but mentally.
But that's a big thing I've explored a lot. It's called jujitsu.
Oh,
You would freak out. This is amazing going back to etymology. Basically, jujitsu is it's gentleness in art and science. That's where the etymology of the word is. And it's sort of like when you learn judo or jujitsu, you don't fight the fight. The great warriors don't even fight the fight. They know how to avoid the fight. But you
and well,
still, yeah,
it's
go
one
ahead.
of the tenets of Aikido is you
Yeah,
use whatever, physical
that's it.
energy or whatever is coming at you, you just bend it. It's
The
uh,
abandon. That is good.
yeah. And yeah, one of my Aikido teachers used to call Aikido the lapidary of martial arts. It's sort of
Lapidary. What is that
it's
word?
lapidary is like when you polish stones or smooth stones, or
Oh, you polish
um
a stone.
so that's a very
That's
simplistic.
good. I got to interject that because when you say you bend it, when Stanley Kubrick was asked, "Why'd you make 2001?" He said, "To convolate McLuhan, to bend, to bend and twist McLuhan."
I can't believe you're bringing up 2001. I was thinking about it today. I'm thinking, you know what? I want to watch it. It actually came from our Finnegan's Wake, the New York group, where
Yeah,
I forgot Zool was talking. Wasn't Zool having a femur left over from whatever it was they were eating, the apes, and then one ape picked it up and realized it was a weapon. And I just need to watch that movie again. It's an amazing movie, and the music, Strauss, "Thus Spake Zarathustra," it's a beautiful music, for
yeah.
many
You got to see
reasons.
it on a big screen, though. I mean, that's the thing. You'll see it. It's amazing. It's funny because I've interviewed Zool with all these questions twice. I love Zool. He is an amazing peace activist, filmmaker on Buster Keaton and Fanny Fatty Arbuckle. Amazing. Yeah, those last couple meetings were amazing in New York. But yeah, that's funny. You really know you learned from Aikido. But then you were gonna say tomorrow, I realized what stayed the same in your major elements was tenacity. And then you said, oh, now I realize what
Oh,
changed.
and what changed? When I was younger, a preteen and teenager, and I believed in oh paranormal stuff, and I don't believe in any of that anymore. I don't believe in what's the word I'm trying to think of? I'm losing
Oh,
words.
paranormal. Paranormal is a better word to use because then you go kooky woo woo, UFO. But there's a fine line there. I want to ask you. It's called, and we're using this word science this evening in our discussion. It's called what do they call it? Pseudoscience
Oh, no, it's not just, I mean, it's I include religion in
in there.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
in all of that. And I
but you know
just
what they call fasting on Wikipedia pseudoscience, and I'm like,
fasting.
I thought fasting isn't pseudoscience, but they claim it is. So it's funny how the categories get formed by the words. in what we say. Okay, that's truth. That's a non-truth. You know, it's back to the other guy. You might know him, Niels Bohr.
Oh,
Uh,
sure.
he says, "Oh, where is it? It's this is a funny one. The opposite of a fact is a falsehood, but the opposite of a profound truth may be another profound truth."
Boy, that's like quantum theory. Uh,
That is it. That is totally quantum. Okay, so fill in the blank. Anger can be a productive emotion when.
when it spurs your creativity.
Good.
I mean, when you actually produce something that isn't violent.
Yeah. I asked my friend who wrote comedy with Robin Williams, can satire be destructive? He said, that's the job of satire. But if but if me or you do a cartoon in a certain country and they kill us, that some people think dying is destructive. Swift compared satire to a mirror in which people could see every face but their own. What's the function of satire?
I love Swift's definition because if it's satire, a lot of people, even if it's aimed at someone, chances are they're not going to know it's them. I mean, it's to poke fun of stuff.
Yeah,
Um, it's not just to make you laugh. I mean, it does. Satire does make you laugh,
yeah,
but I think satire it exposes stuff.
yeah. You actually, I use one other example, and you actually almost said it word for word. Frank Zappa says in a line in his song, "Watch the Nazis run your town. Now go home and check yourself. You think we're singing about somebody else."
Yes. That's well, what was that Robin Williams thing? I think maybe we talked about this last time where he was being interviewed on German television, and that the interviewer, Germans, asked, why there aren't that many comedians from Germany, and he goes, because you killed all the funny people.
Whoa,
You can get that clip on YouTube.
that's heavy.
It's very heavy.
What's the function of laughter?
Oh, so many things. It's a release.
Yeah,
It's a physical release, but it's also a tension releaser in a room. Although it can create tension if people laugh at the wrong time or at the wrong thing. Um, I think laughter is universal.
yeah.
So it allows people to communicate even when they don't speak the same language or have the same culture. Although what's funny in one culture is not necessarily funny in another culture.
Yeah, but it's funny. Gurdjieff said laughter is the reconciliation of yes and no. So Steve Allen would say behind every joke, there's a grievance. Any comment, and we don't have to say every, behind jokes, there's a grievance. Any thought on that line?
Oh, well, yeah, I think that's probably true. That's why, I mean, God, isn't there a huge incidence of depression and suicide among comedians,
Yeah. Wow.
including Robin Williams?
Yeah.
I was going to say Lenny Bruce, but I mean, it depends if you consider an overdose suicide. Some people
Yeah.
might.
There's a line that goes, you create what you resist. The comedian Bob Goldthwait morphed it into, you are what you hate. James Joyce said, it's a curious thing how your mind is super saturated with the religion in which you say you disbelieve. And Bunwell said, thank God I'm an atheist.
Yes.
So this line, you create what you resist. I'm not saying Tamar or you, I'm saying one create
Understand.
what one resists. Any thoughts on that line?
Oh gosh, yes. I mean, you think about there's this whole thought about homophobia um, coming from people who might fear that they themselves
Yeah,
might be gay, or that they've had feelings for somebody of the same gender.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, I mean, you can create your own phobia from.
yeah. What's the most significant difference between men and women, physical aside?
Okay, it's behavioral.
Yeah.
Um, hmm, that's a tough one.
Well, we can
I
leave it at
think
we can leave it at
no, I'm gonna say, and it's a nature nurture question.
yeah,
Um, Women at least used to be more willing to talk about their feelings. Men did not. I was thinking, the series Mad Men for me just it wasn't always fun to watch because I grew up in that period. But um, you could see the differences in the way men were expected to behave and the way women were expected to behave. And people pretty much adhered to it in
yeah,
the 50s and 60s. And women were not expected to get angry or
yeah.
raise their voices, and they're supposed to be the peacemakers. And men, I'm just going to say, we're not necessarily thought to be that way. So I think that there you go. You can become the thing you fear most, which
Wow.
is, you know,
The other question, it's funny because that's really freaky. I usually do them in a different order, but we were talking and I figured, oh, I'll switch the order. So you brought a lot of things full circle. So what caused matriarchy?
what caused it?
Yeah,
I'm not a scientist, so I'm not sure, but I would suspect it's because women gave birth,
yeah,
and they created generations with the help of men, obviously, but it came out of their bodies. And I think that was revered. That's why you had for all these fertility goddesses,
yeah.
um, because they populated the earth.
Very good. So these are five Alan Watts questions off the top of your head in just a couple words. One, who started it all?
Who? Who would have to be the first human? Whoever, or
Very
the first
good.
humans, whoever
The,
that was.
the first humans. Two, are we going to make it?
If you're talking about this planet, probably not. We are going to destroy it. Go
Oh,
ahead.
yeah.
It being the
Three,
planet.
three, where do we put it?
Uh, um, back to the way it was. Back is, someplace in the universe. I'm thinking planetary right now.
Nice. Okay, four, who's cleaning it up?
Oh boy. Nobody. It'll be debris in space. The next
Five,
meteor.
the next meteor. Five, is it serious?
I'm sorry, you broke up again. Say it again.
The fifth one is it serious?
Very serious.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, a couple more and we're out of here. We got 10 more minutes. This is fun tomorrow. I really appreciate your time. How do you find peace of mind?
I used to find it by doing Zen meditation, but I don't really do it much anymore. I find peace of mind by going outside, uh, and walking my dogs, going outside, seeing there's an Earth, a whole universe out there is bigger than I am. That gives me peace of mind.
Beautiful.
A physical universe.
Yeah. If you were walking down the street today and you met yourself as a 12-year-old, what would you say to your 12-year-old self?
Don't be stupid.
Which way should toilet paper come off the roll, over or
Oh my
under?
God, over. Absolutely over.
Yeah, well, 99% people say over, but there are people who say under and they have their reasons.
I
And they
need one. Give me one reason why it should
well,
be under.
the patent has it going over too. It's 100 years old. The under one is they go, their cats will hit it and make it
Oh,
all.
this is
Oh,
true. And they'll
they-
get it no matter what,
yeah,
Gerry.
and then
Cats and dogs.
yeah, and they say if it goes under, if it goes anyways, over's the dominant answer. Okay, if a publisher was to release your autobiography off the top of your head, what would the title be?
Wait, you broke up again. Say it
If
again. If
if
the
if a publisher was to
oh
release your autobiography off the top of your head, what would the title be?
oh, I was actually thinking about this. Um, there are no versions of the truth. There is
That is
only the truth.
that is good. You gotta when you figure out that playwright, German playwright's name, tell it to me.
Okay, I
Okay.
will. I have to remember where I found
Yeah.
it.
Okay, here's a part B to that question. They want to scent the glue in the binding of your autobiography. What smell?
Unscented, please.
Very good. I do get that sometimes. If a statue was built in your honor, where would you want it displayed and what would it be made of?
It would be made of chocolate and it would be a playground. I don't want a
Yeah,
statue in my honor.
okay. But
Have
I
to
got to
be
ask you,
edible.
is it dark or milk chocolate?
Oh, dark chocolate.
Oh, good. Okay. Tell me something good you never had and you never want.
Something good. Oh, how do you not want something good? I mean, there's tons of stuff I've never had. How about I? I don't know how to answer that question.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of anything good that I don't want. Um, I'd like peace on earth. I've never had it, but I want it.
It's good you
Uh,
never had it, but you never want it.
right. That's
That's
what I know, and that's why I can't think of anything good. Well, I guess martinis. No,
that's a
I had one once. I used to
once.
want
That's
the Thin Man. You know, when the Thin Man, how Nick and
yes.
Nora would always be having these martinis. And when I was a kid, I always wanted one, but I wanted it to taste like olive juice. Not, I didn't want there to be booze in there. I just wanted it to taste like the juice of an olive with the olives in it. And also the glasses were cool. So I had a martini once and I hated it. So it's good.
That's
That's as close
that's
as
a
I can
good
come.
answer. That's a good answer. You could make an exception there. But the answers I get the most are money, fame, and heroin.
Oh, well, heroin's not good. It might make you
Well,
feel good.
I know, but I mean, I'm just telling you what people say to
Yeah.
me.
Oh, that's interesting. Did you know, Gerry, or at least this is what I was taught, like, people might say that about methamphetamine, but that in the wilderness, like if a meth head dies in the wilderness, nothing eats him or her. Nothing. No, no
Wow.
insects, no flies, no, I mean, because it's just poison. So that they're pretty much intact. You know, the crows don't, or the vultures, whatever, don't come and eat out their eyes, because that's one of the first things that go, because it's juicy and soft. But I'm
Oh
sorry, this
my
is
God,
fun.
I didn't know. That's funny because I love this article. I love National Enquirer and those crazy newspapers. And one says,
Yes, news of the world.
yeah, the one of them headline says cannibals stopped eating humans because they're too filled with pesticides.
You know, that makes a lot of sense. And that's, have you ever been around a meth house? It stinks. I used to
Yeah.
walk my dog. I had a boyfriend who lived like in the barrio, and there was a meth house around the corner. And this first time I knew it was there or smelled it, and it's the
Yeah.
most disgusting smell in the world. I can understand why even insects wouldn't want to be around anything that had it in them.
Well, I don't usually ask this question to some people, but I got to ask it because it kind of goes along with that stinky smell thing you just said. If you were in a vat of vomit up to your neck and someone threw a bag of shit at your face, what would you do? I'm glad you laughed.
No, it's funny. It reminds me of a quote that someone said about voting for Trump versus Kamala Harris. But
That's
I
really good.
don't remember what the quote was. I know,
Yeah.
you know, Gerry, I should never do these things because I know I'm going to get in trouble. I have no guile. I speak what's on my mind, and I know I'm going to get in trouble.
No,
But
you're not in trouble. That's fine.
well, I had no idea who watches these things until I went to visit my friends in Lille, and my friends were going to have a dinner party with these other people, and the other people looked me up on the internet and they found my interview with you. That's how I
And what did
know.
they say? Did they say something?
Oh, no, I had met one of this couple before.
Yeah.
One of the guys, two guys, and the other guy I hadn't met before. But I didn't ask because I thought, oh my God, what did I say? I probably said,
I
what did
wouldn't
I
worry.
say?
We don't have a viewership, but it's really just fun. And but anyways,
Okay, so what would I do? Well, the shit's in the bag, right? Where the vomit's just loose all around you.
yeah.
But what, I don't know, grab it as a life buoy, grab the bag of shit as a life buoy.
Wow. I was just going to tell you, one of the answers that I got goes back to our literature studies that we share. And it's called Descent into the Maelstrom by Edgar Allan Poe. It's a short story. And this woman said, I would take the velocity of the bag of shit and use it to swoop my way out of the vat of vomit. And
Oh,
that's what the sailor did in Poe's short story. His boat crashes and he watches the patterns of the broken boat parts going in a whirlpool, and instead of swooping him down to his death, he uses them to get out of the whirlpool and save himself.
oh, interesting. I mean,
but I got it from a guy who's an altacocker on Venice Boardwalk, and an amazing wise old man. And it was just like a metaphor for life. We're all in a vat of vomit and people are throwing bags of shit at us.
that's
What do
it's I thought that.
Okay, what's the cultural shift you see developing today that inspires you?
That inspires me. Okay, well here this we're doing another circle about,
Yeah,
can anger be productive?
yeah,
Because the cultural shift is toward meanness. I think
yeah,
people are so mean,
yeah,
unpleasant, uncivil, nasty.
yeah.
And so it makes me angry, which hopefully will get me off my ass to do something.
There you go. That's the total McLuhan message. The code that he broke in Finnegan's Wake is, how do you turn a breakdown into a breakthrough? How do you turn a rejection into a redirection? or a weakness into a strength. I mean, that's really good. Yeah. Because a lot of people now, when I say that, what's the cultural shift you see developing today? They go, what do you mean that inspires you? What do you mean? They all don't inspire me. Like I go, get over it. If they're not inspiring you, then maybe they can help you realize there's a way out, that you just don't surrender to the fall, you know.
No, or just be apathetic.
Yeah.
That's the
Or yeah,
thing,
yeah,
that scares me more than anything else is the
yeah.
apathy or
That's
just
the
the
apathy thing is,
the
oh my God, we're like,
acceptance.
I'm from Flint, Michigan, and people say that city is so low that it can only get better. And
Huh.
I mean, it's horrible how low some things can go. Then you have to learn, or you want to have the other word you used earlier, tenacity. You have to have the willpower. So, what's a question that remains unresolved for you?
Um, I mean, I guess it's not really unresolved, the meaning of life. I mean, how can I really know?
Yeah,
There are a lot of questions that remain unresolved just because we have the question. I mean, people invent answers all the time. It's probably
yeah,
how religion came about. What's the meaning of life? Well, there's a God. So I think there are some things that there just is no answer to. People try to create an answer and in some cases force it down your throat. But there's there's a million things that are unresolved. I mean, yeah,
yeah.
the meaning of life. Why are we the whole thing? All of Bill Cosby's. Why is there air? Remember that album from Bill Cosby? Why is there air? You know,
No, that's really good. You really helped me, because I'm writing this essay right now that's called. I asked this woman, a political woman, last week. I says, "What's your favorite form of information?" She said, "Asking questions." Yeah. That's not it is a form of information,
it's not fun.
but
I mean,
asking questions. So then I was going to name the essay "Asking Questions," and then today I'm riding my bike and I says, maybe you should name the essay "Why Ask Questions."
oh,
It's got a little twist to it, and then I have to decide, put an exclamation point or put a question mark.
question mark, Jerry. I vote for question mark.
Good, because you're a writer. I'm glad you did. I was going to do that. But do you know what a double duty interrobang is?
What you broke up
Yeah.
again?
Have you ever heard the word double duty interrobang?
No.
Well, an interrobang is a piece of punctuation that's an exclamation point and dot with a question mark superimposed over it, so they share the same dot.
Oh,
So it's
that's interesting.
it's sort of like, what the, it's like a question and an exclamation at the same time. And what you talked about there, the meaning of life, is a lot of what McLuhan is all about. Is his mission is to invent new questions and new metaphors, not necessarily answer them, but
Right, metaphors.
yeah, he's in academia, and you're sort of destined to say, this is a concept. He was into percepts, so he teased people to believe his concepts his percepts were concepts. So he teased people that his feelings, his hunches, his guesses were concepts. And they weren't. There's not McLuhan theories. They call him a media theorist. And that's wrong. He's not that. But he would go, no, leave it, because I'm in academia and I write books. So I want people to think they're reading concepts. But they're not. They're just his guesses or his questions. In fact, Woody made him change it in Annie Hall when he said, "You mean my whole fallacy is wrong?" That's a statement. Marshall would normally say it as, "Do you mean my whole fallacy is wrong?" That's a question. In Woody presented him to the world backwards. you
I,
know.
I actually love that scene, by the way,
It's a
in Annie
great
Hall. It's
scene.
a
I mean,
great
it's a
scene.
great scene, but
You
it's
know,
actually it helped me remember one thing I forgot. If McLuhan says all words are metaphoric, then what is the word literal a metaphor?
well, you have to buy the premise that all words are metaphoric. Um,
Yeah,
okay,
but
so
they are.
I
I
don't,
mean, all
I'm not
words are
sure that's
made
true.
up.
I think groups of words are might be metaphors, but I don't think a single word is a metaphor. So I am going to
Yeah.
disagree with McLuhan on that.
No, that's good, but all words are made up. They're made up. They're not. They don't exist in truth and reality. They're made up. They're made up.
Well, that goes back to, again, Stanley asking about this, which came first, language or a thought. Did he?
Stanley is one of my heroes. I love Stanley. So Stanley Applebaum in the
Yes.
New York Wake. I interviewed him with all these questions.
It was
That's
fascinating to see those pictures, actually, to see what
oh
people
God,
looked like back then. That was so, at first I got bored, and then, oh, no, this is really interesting.
yeah. No,
So,
that was really
Gerry, I
yeah.
gotta say, your thing about, what is it? The double
Double
what is it called?
duty interrobang.
Double duty interrobang. I'm okay. You cannot do that on a computer,
Right, you
but
can
on a typewriter, you can do it. You can do your
exactly.
question mark and just go
And
back a space and do the exclamation point, and they'll
yeah,
share the same dot, and you'll
yeah,
have it. Somebody needs to create that on a computer.
it is.
A double duty
It's
interrobang.
in
That's great.
it's in a McLuhan book known as a double duty interrobang, and you can type in Wikipedia interrobang, and I'm pretty sure it's in there. It's on the internet. Interrobang is a known punctuation variation. You know.
I didn't know that, and it's sort of a, one of my conundra when I'm writing is sometimes you end something with a couple of question marks and then a
Yeah,
couple of exclamation points, but
yeah.
which one should come first? The exclamation point, because you can't put them together. Which should come first?
Now you
And
can.
it's going to be difficult to think of this, because if you do it one way or another, there's a different nuance to it.
Yeah. And you could do it with Photoshop now, but it is very interesting. Okay, so two more, no, three more,
Okay.
and we're out of here.
All
Okay,
right.
how has you've been you're an editor, a journalist, and you do a lot of things.
I
How
do
has
a
your
lot of things. I'm a
how is your
dilettante.
you're a dilettante? Okay, how has being a dilettante shaped your behavior? So, in other words, how have your callings shaped your behavior?
Oh, big time. I mean, finding your Finnegan's Wake group is what, that's one of my interests. Well, literature, and then James Joyce. I'm just a fanatic. And needing to read Finnegan's Wake, but being terrified of it. And then somebody in one of my other book groups sending me the article about your group. So, how has it shaped my behavior? I am now in Finnegan's Wake groups sometimes three times a week. Um, is that what you say? How it's shaped my behavior, or how it's changed me? What was the
Who
question?
what no, it's how have your callings shaped your behavior? Like being a journalist and being,
Yeah.
how has your callings shaped your behavior?
Um, well, I'm
Your
still going to
career.
use Finnegan's Wake, as I mean, that's just one thing,
Yeah.
but it shapes my behavior because I sort of arrange my monthly schedule around the meetings I can attend, which means I can sometimes be with clients less than I should. I'm supposed to be finishing a piece. I said I don't write, but I mean I rarely write. And I've been working on this piece that I can't finish, even though there's somebody champing at the bit for it, because I'm in all these Finnegan's Wake groups, and when I'm not in the Finnegan's Wake
Well,
groups,
wait, what
I'm
do you, what's Tamar? You're in New York, Venice, in
in
Austin.
Austin. Yeah.
That those three,
So
no more than that. That's
no,
it.
but I am in another book group that meets every other Sunday.
What
It
what
was it was a James Joyce group, and then but we read everything. I think that was my fifth reading of Ulysses, but we read all of his books except Finnegan's Wake. That group rebelled. We read the first paragraph of Finnegan's Wake, and including this woman who attends from Dublin, they said no. So that group is now, we're like a classics group. We're finishing Don Quixote, and then we're going to start Dante, the
how
Divine
cool
Trilogy.
is that?
Yeah. So
Where's it based? Where's that group based?
it's based out of Santa Fe. It's on Zoom, but it's based out of Santa Fe. It started years and years and years ago, and then
It's
I
not
left it. I
it's not
wanted to do.
Elaine Mingus in Adam?
No, no, no. This one is in out of. She was in Albuquerque. Elaine died, so she's not.
Right.
She
Because
died quite a few years
I
ago.
I think I told you. I interviewed Elaine twice. And when I presented in Albuquerque at a film festival, Finnegan's Wake, she put me up in her house.
Oh, that's a fabulous house. It's her daughter and son-in-law's house, I think.
She
And
housed me, and I got to sit in that room where she had all her Joseph Campbell books and interview her. She was a real pistol. I loved her.
she was a pistol. And actually, she started the first group. She and Adam Harvey, I think, together maybe started the first
Right,
James Joyce group. And then that morphed into lots of different groups. And then I
right.
kind of left and then started my own. And then that I left that one because it was in Proust. We did Proust for a bit, took a break from James Joyce and did Proust, and there was a whole kerfuffle over that. And then I left, and that group went on to do other stuff. And then they were doing Ulysses on their own and asked me to read for Molly Bloom, do a dramatic reading, and then um, they said, "Oh, let's do Ulysses together." So that's that group,
That's what
and
I want to encourage you to try the Sweeney's Wake group once because it's the best of them all. Okay, it meets
really
Tuesdays at 11 a.m. Pacific time.
Pacific. So that's noon here. How long is it? I have
90 minutes, but here's what
that's
it is.
it. Uh huh.
Six, 60 minutes is just reading the wake. There's no two-line stuff. It's you read a third or a full page, then it goes to the next person. The thing is that the people who are sitting in Sweeney's aren't there always be there go, I'm a Finnegan's Wake person. They might just walk into this James Joyce tourist trappy kind of place and go, hey, we're doing a reading. Sit down and read this. And they read it. And so they're not like, what is this? Oh, it's James Joyce. They don't go, well, the words are mumbled. Just read it. And you get these readers that are amazing because their headspace isn't, they know what they're into. So
Yeah,
you
yeah,
get,
yeah.
no, you got to experience at least once. I'm sure, I bet you they're all on, or they've been on Facebook over the years, so you could observe at any time. But it is really magical. And there's some really great Irish people who know everything Irishy and they read it like actors. And, it's a different kind of wake group than the other three. And I kind of wanted to change Venice into that, but I was like, no, because it's that they do it there and our group likes the way we do it. Like, pretty much Austin, Venice, and New York are kind of the same, except New York does these side things in
Yes.
workshops, which is cool.
So
But
with the Sweeney's group, how do I can I just get on? Is it a link to a
you
Zoom link, or how do I do it?
it's a Zoom link, and you just go to Sweeney's and you yeah, I'll just send you the link. It's the same
That'd
link.
be great. And is it every week?
every week, and it's really a fun group because it's me, Duncan, and about 2 or 3 others. There used to be 8 or 10 of us on Zoom, but when you in Sweeney's, the store, there's usually 4 to 8 to 12 people. So in the store, these people just step up to the Zoom. So it really makes for a different. The discussions vary at the end. You don't have to stick around, but they're a little more Irishy kind of oriented because they know, oh, that's the name of a street right down the street here. Oh, that's they know Irish like Shane McGowan's wife's yoga teacher was there, and I had her on my podcast, and she was going to be doing a thing at New York, but eventually we're going to have her. But she made an 8-minute film you have to see of Lucia dancing. It's really
Oh, I think I've seen it. It's on YouTube,
it's
right?
it's on YouTube. It's really good. So you
I
get
have seen it.
you get a variety of people there, and the other thing is they usually sing a song at the beginning.
Oh, neat.
Yeah,
So I can just get on and observe,
you
right?
can
Or,
you can get on and observe, but you will love it. Just say I'll read, and if I'm the only one who reads 2 or 3 lines, everybody else reads a third to a whole page.
oh,
Because I'm
wow.
I'm just
Okay.
not a good reader. So you don't have you can say I'm not reading, but yeah, I think you can observe on Facebook, but I don't think they're always on Facebook. But I'm going to send you the link when we're done, and you can use it any Tuesday. You
That's
know,
great, Gerry. Thank you. Yeah, I'd love to do
it
that.
is just to throw you off a little. It shows you how a different approach to reading the wake. And my favorite is you just go blah 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 next, and then the next reader picks up. I don't like New York's where they yell a name out.
I know it's the first time we read it, it kind of put me on the spot because
Yeah,
I didn't know
genuinely
anybody.
apologize. But here's the funny thing with Sweeney's: if you're reading the text of the wake and the word "next" comes up in the text,
Oh, you have to say next, next. Oh,
do you literally stop and go next, next, or do you just roll over it and keep talking, keep reading?
has that happened?
Oh yeah, I
Oh,
always
that's
bring it up.
hysterical.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Okay, we got 2 more and we're done. Okay, here we
All
go.
right. You
This
keep
is
saying that.
this is this is Thornton Wilder. And if you haven't seen, there's a book that's this thick of all his letters about Finnegan's Wake. He was a
No.
total Thornton Wilder was a total Finnegan's Wake freak. So in 1928, he said, art is confession. Art is the secret told. But art is not only the desire to tell one's secret, it's the desire to tell it and hide it at the same time.
Ooh.
You've laid your cards on the table for over 3 hours now. I'm not insinuating you haven't already answered this. What's it really all about for you?
Sorry, I'm thinking of Michael Caine, Alfie.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I get that. Yeah, Alfie. Yeah,
No, it's what I said before. What it's really all about is just, muddling through, making the best you can. That's
yeah,
all it is. Making
yeah.
life the best you can for yourself and other people. That's what it's all
Good.
about.
Very good. What gives you the most optimism?
Not a whole lot these days. Okay, to quote Blanche Dubois, "The kindness of strangers."
Oh, that is good. The kindness of strangers. Okay, so the first question I ask is, what's the best thing for a human being? Wilhelm Reich said the best thing for a human being is another human being. The last question I ask is, what gives you the most optimism? When they asked Groucho Marx that question at the end of his life, he said, other people. So it's sure been fun spending this time with another person, especially because it was you, Tamar. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gerry. I'll see you at one of our groups. This is great. Thanks.
Yes, thank you. Even though I'm going to hit the end broadcast button, I hope this never ends and we can keep talking forever and ever.
I hope so. It's been great. Bye.
Thanks.
Okay, how do I, there